Welcome to a journey back in time to 2nd century Rome, the first city in human history to house 1 million souls, and a metropolis defined by a paradox of absolute gold and absolute squalor. Before London or Paris ever dreamed of such scale, Rome stood as the undisputed capital of the world, a museum of the world carved in stone by the restless architect King Hadrian. It is a city where the horizon shimmers with the gold-plated bronze of the brand-new Pantheon, where the air smells of Indian pepper and Egyptian grain. But as you step closer, the white marble gives way to soot-stained brick and porous tufa stone that turns black with mold in the humid Roman shadows. Using advanced technology, we have transformed archaeological surveys and ancient descriptions into photorealistic scenes, reconstructing the golden mirage of 125 CE with brutal honesty. Today, you won't just hear about history, you will see it. You will walk the narrow, 6-foot-wide alleys, dodge the rain of filth from 4th-story windows, and witness the high-tech engineering that kept a 1 million-person machine alive in a world of beautiful, chaotic filth. To understand how this city actually functions, we have to look at the impossible logistics of the stomach. How do you feed 1 million people in an age without electricity or refrigeration? You see the answer at the horizon, the port of Ostia. This is the golden throat of the empire. You see a constant forest of masts, ships carrying the monthly allotment of grain from the fields of Egypt and North Africa. This state-run grain dole is the only thing standing between the emperor and a total revolution. You see the average Roman shopping daily at street carts and small shops because there is nowhere to store food in their cramped quarters. The wealthy enjoy imported spices and fine meats, reclining on pillows while served by slaves. But for the poor, life is a cycle of waiting for their grain ration and surviving on a diet of cereals, bread, and olive oil. You see them at the Popini, the ancient world's version of a fast food snack bar, eating lentil stew and salted ham because the risk of fire makes cooking at home in a wooden tenement a death sentence. But who is managing the pulse of these households? You step inside a Roman home and meet the women who are the unsung engines of the empire. You see the paterfamilias, the male head of the house, who technically holds the power of life and death over his family. But don't let the law books fool you. The home is the domain of the wife. By 125 CE, you see Roman women with rights that would have shocked their ancestors. You see her managing the family's slaves, overseeing the education of her children, and conducting business in the city. She isn't a prisoner in the home. You see her sitting with her husband at dinner, relaxing at the public baths, and cheering at the theater or the gladiatorial games. In the bustling markets of the Subura, you see women working as pharmacists, midwives, and even bakers, carving out their own influence in a society that is slowly beginning to recognize their power. Now, you must face the rotten side of the marble. You feel the vibration of the narrow streets as you enter the insulae, the high-rise apartment blocks where 90% of Romans live. These are not the grand villas of Palatine Hill. These are ramshackle tenements built fast and cheap by greedy landlords. You see the cracks in the walls and feel the constant fear of collapse. Under the law, they shouldn't be taller than 60 feet, but you see landlords ignoring the rules, stacking floor upon floor of human misery into the sky. You look up 7 stories and realize the high-tech Roman world has a dark limit. There is no plumbing above the ground floor. If you live on the 4th floor, you are walking down 3 flights of dark stairs in the middle of the night to find a toilet. You hear a sharp warning shout from above, and you dive back just as a clay jar of human waste is hurled from a window. This rain of filth turns the narrow, unpaved alleys into a breeding ground for disease and a stench that defines the Roman experience. For the millions living in these tenements, the only alternative is the public latrine. You enter a room of cold marble where 20 or 30 people sit side by side on stone benches with no privacy. This is where business is conducted and gossip is traded. But then, you see the gross factor, that remains one of Rome's most enduring mysteries. In a gutter of running water at your feet sits the xylospongium, a single-C sponge on a wooden stick. Because individual plumbing is a luxury reserved for the ultra-wealthy, everyone in this room, from the merchant to the laborer, shares that same sponge. You watch as it is used, rinsed in the communal gutter, and passed to the next person. It is a moment of shared, gritty humanity that reminds you that the same civilization that invented the most beautiful dome in history also shared a single toilet sponge. Beneath this filth, however, lies the engineering genius that keeps the city from collapsing under its own weight. You feel a deep thrum beneath your sandals, the pulse of the machine. You are standing over the Cloaca Maxima, a sewer tunnel so massive that a wagon full of hay could drive through it. You hear the deafening, constant roar of 1 million cubic meters of water rushing into the city every day from 11 massive aqueducts. This flood of water runs 24/7 through every public fountain, flushing the sewers and feeding the massive public baths. You see the baths of Trajan, covering 32 acres, where 3,000 people at a time socialize, exercise, and scrape the city's soot off their skin with olive oil and a metal strigil. Rome is a high-tech machine, but its gears are lubricated by 1 million people living on the edge of a logistical cliff. Rome's history is a story of impossible highs and a slow, rotting descent. It rose as the first true megacity, a golden mirage of architecture and engineering, but it was built on a foundation of squalor and inequality. As the sun sets over the ruins of the Forum today, you are left with the silence of the debris, the shouting of the masseurs, the gambling in the slums, and the roar of the water have all faded into the dust. You look at the broken marble and realize the greatest mystery is in how they built this world. It asks the question that lingers in every shadow. How did a city this powerful simply stop?